Reboot your credit card with Apple Card. It gives you unlimited daily cash back that can earn 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a savings account. A high-yield, low-effort way to grow your money with no fees. Apply for Apple Card now in the Wallet app on iPhone to start earning and growing your daily cash with savings today. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners, subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC. Terms apply.
You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning.
Welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, with the spotlight on section hikers.
And I'll spread the word, and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come. And we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the podcast, and we are going to get right to it. It is the beginning of September, I guess, and as you guys are hearing this, it is Mountains to Sea Trail birthday month, and for the entire month, I have Austin with me on the podcast. So, Austin, welcome back to the show.
What's going on? Happy birthday, MST.
Yes, happy birthday, MST, and happy birthday, Jester.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Jester.
I'm going to celebrate my whole month, too.
It's better to celebrate the birthday month. That's the way my wife likes to celebrate it, too. It's the whole month.
Exactly. So, full disclosure, at the time, I should say, we are recording this, it is Sunday, July 24th, and you guys are hearing this, and I believe it is Saturday, September the 3rd. So the last episode that you guys heard last week, which was August 27th, all these dates are going to get confusing. It has been almost exactly 2 months since you and I have recorded, Austin, and since I have recorded any podcast, because all of my summer episodes were preloaded, and this just feels weird.
Well, you got to get back in the swing of things.
Yeah, and we've been rather busy.
Yeah,
so before we get it, go ahead.
No, I was going to say a little bit's happened. Yeah.
So before we get into the meat of this episode, Austin, we've got one little gig that we're going to talk about real quick, and then I have another couple announcements. The first gig is, so today is Sunday, July 24th. You guys have already seen the trailer because we're recording this kind of in real time, but by the time you guys hear this, it's September. And Austin and I are going to be presenting the trailer to the Mountains to Sea Trail board. So on No pressure. So on August the 5th, we are going to be showing the board the trailer. Austin, how do you feel about that?
I feel better about it now. I did not feel great about it a few weeks ago when I was still like eyeballs deep in what the heck are we going to make this about. But I feel good.
Excellent.
Getting now where I was with the trailer a few weeks ago is where I am with all the episodes now. Like, I have no idea how it's going to look.
Oh my God. I so hope, as you guys are listening to this, that you thoroughly enjoyed the trailer. And now the episode that we're going to talk about today, The Vision, you guys are able to go and watch that now over on Austin's channel, Side Trail Adventures. I mean, I literally just cry. I mean, I watch the trailer and I go, who did this? And I just cry. I mean, every time. And there's something about what we've been doing. I've become very emotional about it.
I think this project, I don't know, it just felt very natural. Because I think both of us have a deep passion, not just for the outdoors and hiking, but the Mountains to Sea Trail specifically. it just, I don't know how else to say it. It just feels natural to do something about this trail, to showcase this trail, because it's, it just feels like the home trail. It feels like it doesn't get the attention or the love that it deserves. And so this is one way that we can show people how much we love it, at least.
I know. I love it so much. I've become like this emotional mess. And in the same time, it's like this has been a lot of work.
Holy smokes.
And
yeah.
at the same time, it doesn't feel like it. It's undescribable to me. It's just undescribable. I mean, I don't know if you feel that way, because now, after the last recording, we were finishing up our interviews, and we had one more interview to do. And you go, oh my God, that interview was amazing. And we hadn't created the trailer, like we didn't know. And now that we're in this, we're in the guts of this, I'm just very emotional.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just bringing up all the feels.
And maybe that's why the work doesn't feel like work, and like all the financial investments and the time investments and the, because this project it's not just the time behind the camera, or it's not just the time sitting at the computer editing. Like, this project has occupied the white space of my brain and the white space of my calendar this entire time. Like, if I'm not thinking about, right. If I'm not thinking about work, or what am I going to have for lunch, or what time do I need to wake up tomorrow, I have been thinking about this documentary series. What is it going to look like? What, all the little details and facets and everything, just thinking about it all the time.
I know. It's great. It's insane. And you know what? And you don't even know this. I'm getting ready to tell you something. And we've totally skipped over the announcements, but we'll come back to that.
Squirrel.
Okay, I'm going to do the announcements, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you,
right,
and then we'll get into this. So we're showing the trailer to the Mountains of Sea Trail board on August the 5th. So by the time you guys hear that, everyone will have cried in the boardroom. That's how I'm visualizing it, and everything is wonderful. So skipping ahead to the future, so next week, in addition to a podcast episode coming out, another part of the series coming out on Austin's channel, part of Mountains of Sea Trail Birthday Month, on Saturday, September the 10th, I will be leading a hike in Elkin, North Carolina. We are going to do it's about a 4.5 mile hike round trip from a winery down to one of my most favorite places ever, the Bridge of Dreams. And then, of course, back to the winery. There is information about that on the MST website. But 9 a.m. on Saturday, September the 10th. Leading a hike. Please come join. Austin has it on his calendar, but he's not 100% confirmed. So who knows?
Life gets in the way of living sometimes. So I've got to move a few of the shell pieces around to see if I can make that work.
Well, you're good at that, so we'll see what happens. All right, so we got that on September the 10th, and then September the 24th, which is my birthday weekend, which is wonderful. Even more wonderful, we are having or hosting a premiere of one of our episodes called The Foundation. It is going to be in Hillsborough, North Carolina, at the Main Branch Library there in downtown Hillsborough. And it's going to be me, Austin, and a wonderful human being by the name of Beverly Scarlett. And we are going to be showing her portion of the series. I guess that's the best way to say it. And coffee and muffins. Woo! We even have somewhat of a sponsor.
Food.
I know, crazy. Are going to be provided by the Mebane Trail Rangers.
That's so awesome.
I know. I mean, I just reached out to Sherry Seagroves, and I was telling her what was going on, and she's like, no problem. The Trail Rangers will handle it. And she said, well, I'll get back to you in a couple weeks and let you know what we could do. I mean, literally 30 minutes later, I had a text. This is what we're going to do. We're going to provide coffee and muffins, and we'll be there, and we're going to round up the troops. And so this library in downtown Hillsboro, it holds 95 people.
We're going to get all 95.
I know. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I think people are going to be standing up in the back. That's how I envision it.
I know. Down the sides.
Even if I have to pay people on the sidewalk $20 a piece to come in and stand in the back,
I can even hear the babies crying right now. I mean, it's just going to it's going to be packed.
We're going to fill up that cotton picking library.
That's right. So Saturday, September 24th, 9 a.m., be at the Hillsboro, North Carolina Library. You'll get a chance to hang out with us. Oh, I left out the best part. So we're going to be showing the premiere, which is featuring Beverly Scarlett. And then after that, Austin, what are we doing after that? Tell them. It's awesome. Do you know?
We're going hiking with Beverly.
We're going hiking with Beverly.
Yeah.
I know. And watch out, people. Wear your hiking shoes because Beverly can hike.
So, yeah, when we interviewed her, I was not prepared, like, clothing-wise to hike. Like, I was wearing jeans because we were supposed to, we had originally scheduled that interview to be in a courthouse. So I'm thinking, like, in a collared shirt, long pants. So that's what I was wearing. No, we went out to the middle of the woods and it rained. So that was interesting.
That was one of the best.
But
that was interesting.
But she like didn't even skip a beat. Like, yeah. So yeah,
No.
that hiking with her is going to be fun.
No. And that day, I mean, that's one of the best hiking. I can't even put it in a category. I can't describe that day.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
And that's, here we are, squirrel, getting out of telling about what's going on. A lot of our interviews have been like that, where just, it could, whether it was an hour or 4 hours or whatever that time frame was. And a lot of these, I had a 2.5 hour, maybe 3 hour drive home after these interviews. And I mean, I would just sit silent in the car on the way home, just to absorb what had just happened. Yeah,
the opportunities, because the story that we're telling or that we're trying to tell with this series, I don't think it's ever been attempted, because there have been other videos and other documentary style types of media put out about the Mountains to Sea Trail, with interviews and kind of the same style. But I don't think anybody has tried to like tell this holistic story that we're trying to tell. Not just the, where we started, but, history behind the trail and where we're going and all the exciting destinations that the trail is going. And I think that's what, when I walk away from each of these interviews that we've done, it's just, I feel incredibly privileged, because I don't think, the products that we present to everyone with this series are going to be short, 15, 20 minutes, probably maybe 30 if we're long-winded, but there are literally hours of interviews, that we'll have, and the Friends of the Mountains to Sea Trail will have. And there's so many amazing stories that we just don't have time to put into this series, but you and I have gotten to listen to. And I think that's what has made me feel so privileged, is to hear from the horse's mouth how the trail, got its start. I mean, literally from nothing to this 1,100 mile trail. We have been able to talk to people that have had a piece of that along the way. And I think that's what I walk away with. It's just like, holy crap. Like, I was, back in 2019, that's when I really got serious about the MST and hiking it. So I'd made my first steps in segment 10 in 2019 in January. And I was just a dude with a backpack and a camera. and then when we sit across the table from some of these people, and I'm like, how did I even get here? So it's been humbling.
And I think and I think you've just described what my emotions have been.
Yeah.
You know, I was just a gal who wanted to, you know, put some hikes on her podcast during COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. Watch, you know, have a video of me walking past the camera and walking through the woods, and, you know, video of me setting up my tent and, you know, junk like that.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and then we're sitting there and then we sit across the table from, you know, Howard
from the
Lee
guy that actually, you know, decided where the route goes, you know,
literally
or
the guy
how
that's
this idea came from. Yeah.
Or who came up with the blaze or the name of the trail.
I know.
Yeah. So unbelievable opportunities.
It's almost like it's not real. Well, getting back to the calendar now.
Man, this is why, like, you're like, oh yeah, the episode's only going to be about 20 minutes. Nah, it's not going to be 20 minutes.
I don't meet those goals. So, Saturday, September 24th is going to be a special day, and we hope you guys join us. And that's all I'm going to say.
Please do.
So then after that, we have another, after the birthday month celebration, and all these episodes have released, and, you know, we're high-fiving each other. We did this, and we hope more and more and more people join us, you know, at the Mountains of Sea Trail, and join the organization, and join us with, you know, continuing the route that this organization is going to go down. We have another project 2 weekends later. We are going to, the Hiking Radio Network is going to be hosting, and I want to read this because I'm going to get this wrong. A couple years ago, during COVID, in the month of October, we started going to Woods Hole Hostel outside of Perrysburg, Virginia. And for all of you out there that know anything about the Appalachian Trail, you're going to know Woods Hole Hostel. You're going to recognize the name Neville. So the weekend of, I want to make sure I get these dates right, of October the 6th through October the 9th, we are going to be, the Hiking Radio Network is going to be hosting a retreat full of workshops, fellowships, hiking, full access to Mighty Blue, myself, Paul Collins, or also known as Skunk Ape, and Clay Bonnyman, also known as Pony. And the overall arching theme of this wonderful retreat weekend where you can join us is we're going to give you all kinds of information on how to either through hike or section hike the Appalachian Trail, and no better place to do it than Woods Hole Hostel. So we're going to be there for 4 days, and we want you guys to join us. And Austin has a very special job that weekend. And Austin, without unveiling everything, what are your thoughts surrounding the Woods Hole Hostel weekend?
Well, first off, I'm just excited to share the weekend with all those folks you just named. But yeah, I'll be there as well, in a new capacity. I'll just put it like that.
Ooh. So in all seriousness, you guys, there are limited slots. I believe we're going to have 12 to 15 people. And in today's show notes, I will put a link where you can go and you can find out all types of information. I also have, I will put links, I'm just now thinking about this, in the show notes of previous podcast episodes from myself and Mighty Blue, where we specifically talk about the Woods Hole weekend, and we interviewed a guest from that weekend. So I'll put all that in the show notes. So I'm excited. So we've got September, the birthday month. We've got Woods Hole weekend coming up, October the 6th through the 9th. And no date on this, but in the future, I am almost 99% positive you and I are going to have another project.
Let's be honest. It's not
As your
gonna be one
as your
project.
booking agent. That's what I am. As your
It's
booking
not.
agent.
It's not going to be just one project. You and I both know that. It is always something exciting and new. And I mean this in a good way, but there's always something, Julie. You always come up with, hey, what do you think about this? Let me run something by you. And my answer is, I mean, I haven't been able to say no yet. So just
Well, you're welcome to say no. I mean, that's...
See, but you know the questions to ask. And so you know that I want to say yes. And so I say yes. And then I'm like, crap.
And then we
I
get
said
in
yes.
big trouble. All right, you guys, with all of that being said, we've got a bunch of stuff ahead of us. And that is in addition to our own individual things with the podcast. And I plan on having Austin on here as much as possible, as much as he'll join and as much as we could figure out. We've got some ideas out there of what we may do in the future, all the way around. So let's get back to the main bulk of what we want to talk about on this episode. And that is what released today over on your channel, Austin, is The Vision. And my thought process around this episode is kind of like a behind the scenes or a tell-all, and how we creatively put these episodes together. And one of the most awesome things that I love about this is we don't know what we're doing. So
100% true.
We have almost created we're not following anybody's playbooks. We're not mimicking anybody's style. And that's another thing that's making me emotional is we are really doing this. And to create all of these episodes, not just this one, The Vision, and I listed a bunch of things. So I'm going to rattle these things off. And then Austin, I'm going to have you, to the best of your ability, maybe kind of put some stuff in a timeline, because it's even hard for me to think how we did this. So I'm going to rattle these things off. Storyboards, video clips, music, different versions, what the actual story is. We've written voiceovers. You've created the mosaic that everybody is seeing going through these episodes. Pictures that move. I don't know what you call that. We made it a point, and I think this is pivotal, that we interviewed everybody in person. You got a new camera. We're looking at different mics. So for me, it's like all these things helped us create what you have, done through, putting this video together. So with all of that being said, how do you think we do this? We say this?
The challenge was coming up with a question to answer for each episode. Because we kind of had an idea of the main topics. So like with The Vision, we wanted to talk about how the trail came to be. From its absolute inception of, hey, we should have a trail that goes across the state, to getting that snowball rolling down the hill. And we knew kind of who we needed to talk to, since the episodes are out, I think it's safe to use names. So we knew we wanted to talk to Howard Lee, because he's the guy that made the speech back in the 70s. We knew we wanted to talk to Kate because she was the first executive director. But after talking with them, we realized there were other people we needed to talk to, like Jim Halsey.
Yeah, well, we knew we wanted to talk to Jeff Brewer, too.
Jeff, yes. And so, but even then, even with those interviews complete, we still had to come up with the story. We still had to come up with the question to answer. And so,
well, those three, I think, and this is pivotal too. Though after we interviewed those three, we did not have any intention of interviewing Jim Halsey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think after interviewing Howard said you guys need to interview Jim. Jeff said you guys need to interview Jim. And Kate was our first interview. So we interviewed Kate, and then we interviewed Jeff, and then Howard, I think. I think that was the order. Or it may have been Kate, Howard, Jeff. I can't remember. But then it was like... Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine trying to make this episode without talking to Jim Halsey.
Yeah.
Because after learning, because again, I'm just a dude with a backpack and a camera, so I'm learning about the trail during this whole process. I never fully appreciated how important Jim Halsey was to the trail. I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy that came up with the blaze, that said this is the mountains to sea trail, that used that phrase. So yeah, and so from a creative standpoint, what I tried to do was, I knew that when it came time to start putting clips of video into the timeline for the editing, that we needed to have a roadmap. And so with each interview, I listened to each interview and then we used these Google Slides, because you and I could work remotely and we could kind of collaborate remotely. And so Google Slides was how we kind of created these whiteboards. And each interview I just listened to and would create a block for each kind of topic that we went through. And then, by the end of the interview, I've got 30 to 40 of these blocks. And then our brainstorming sessions came from those.
Yeah, I think that's vital
maps.
too. While you were doing that, we also got our calendars out. I don't know when. It may have been after it was after we recorded the trailer episode when we were up at Soco Gap that you guys heard last week. We got our phones out and we literally picked dates, 4 dates, because we knew we had 4 episodes. And while Austin was creating these maps of the videos, that's what I call them, within the storyboards, so we knew we were going to meet. So I kind of did my homework and Austin did his homework, and, we looked at things differently. And then the first session, or our, brainstorming session, we thought we were going to do the vision, but we saved the vision for the last one.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have the interview with Jim.
Yeah.
So the vision, that came out today, that I hope you guys either have seen already, or after you've heard this, you go over to Austin Channel and you watch the vision episode. It was the last one that we creatively put together because we were waiting on an interview. And I'll just go ahead. Now, Austin looks at that. Austin may look at things one way, but I was looking at something like, I don't know if you want to call it a marketing standpoint, a story standpoint. And I was trying to figure out, we're both trying to figure out the characters, the individuals that we interviewed, and the story that we want to tell. And I didn't have to do any of that because Howard Lee told the story.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we figured that out. And so what we did is we created all the other 3. And then we came back and created this episode, The Vision. And I think after creating the other 3, it came to us that Howard told the story. And all we had to do was figure out what Howard was saying and put it in order. Now, that's my perspective. So Austin, kind of piggyback off that and tell me what your thought process was. Yeah.
And what I think was interesting, especially with the interview with Jim, was Howard spelled it out kind of sequentially on the sequence of events. But he wasn't the guy at the very beginning. And so Jim was really the one that was able to tell the story from the very beginning and tell that story. So like there were things, because he talked about this federal, and this, I don't think this will make the series or make the video, but like he was talking about this federal initiative to create trails. And so that's what spawned the state initiative. And so like that's where, like if we're talking about Earth history, that's the amoebas in the puddle of goo.
Oh, that's over my head.
That's like the very, very beginning. And so that was Howard and Jim were the ones that really kind of helped me wrap my head around the timeline and the sequence of how the trail became what it is. And Howard, I thought it was funny how Howard ranked everybody by importance.
Yeah, he did.
And so like he ranked Jim number one. But with the thing that I walked away with, looking back at all the episodes or all the interviews we did, was that everybody had their part to play. Everybody had a piece of the pie. The trail didn't just happen from one person. There's some important people that if they didn't do what they did, the trail would not have happened.
And I do want to say there is just no way on this earth we could have captured, what you guys are seeing is, a lot of it, but there's also a lot of it we just couldn't capture.
Yeah.
Like there's a gentleman mentioned by a lot of people, Jim, Howard, Jeff, Kate, Steve Meehan, the speechwriter.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
I mean, he was in that, the mix of all of that, for several years along with these guys. And we just didn't have an opportunity, to really go down that avenue there, but it doesn't take away from the story. Right.
Well, and the other silent character in the whole thing is Alan Gayheart. And I mean, everybody talks about him. Kate, Jim, Howard, Jeff. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that mentions him, but everybody talks about him because he was one of those guys where the rubber meets the road. He did everything from found the Friends of the Mountain Sea Trail, like literally create it from nothing, the organization, to building trail, scouting trail. He was just integral to the whole thing. But there's, he's since passed away, and so there's no way to interview him, and so that was a unique challenge. Was just telling Alan's story, and doing him justice, because he was, he's such a, for us, he's a larger than life figure. Because we've never had the privilege of getting to talk to him in person, and so I feel like we have this obligation to tell his story, the way he would want it. So that was a unique challenge. So I like to think that we did tell his story correctly, but there's just so much. There's so much I wish we could share. Just, I know. The time. That's the hardest part of video editing, is cutting things out just because of flow or time or storyline or whatever. But anyways. Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting, and as we're recording this, you guys, this happened more than once, but this is the most recent thing. I will have a thought. And, the other day I was looking at after we interviewed and spent time with Jeff Brewer, we went to his house, and very gracious host. I mean, he treated us like queens and kings. I mean, it was just incredible. And he had this guidebook that Alan Gayheart wrote. And I was like, I have to have that book. So, it was just ingrained in me. I had to have it. So I don't even know, a month or so ago, I, found it on Amazon, got the book. And 2 days ago, I got that book out, and Jeff gave us some pamphlets and things, and I was looking at all that, and I literally made an Instagram story that says Alan DeHart is a very vital part of the inception of the Mountains to Sea Trail. Can you imagine carrying this book as your guidebook, in the late 1990s, early 2000s? And 24 hours later, Austin calls me and says, I think we need to... What did your text say? It said...
what are your thoughts about dedicating the series to Alan?
I know.
Yeah.
And 24 hours prior to that, Alan was just in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And this, you guys, I can't think of every instance right now, but this is how Austin and I operate. It's like, oh my God, I thought of that yesterday. Okay, yeah, that's great. Let's do it.
I think that's why this project, even though it's just this monstrous bowl of Jell-O that we're trying to nail to the wall, that's why we've worked well together, is because we kind of think similarly, and are able to bounce ideas off each other and speak frankly, and yeah. It's just been a good working relationship.
Yeah, it's been good. And putting, the trailer together, Austin, people will never know. I'm just going to say bravo, because you have to talk about that mosaic. I don't want to leave this episode, because as we record further, we're going to get further away from the trailer and creating that mosaic. So I had the idea in my head, because we talked about this idea that we want to talk about diversity, the diversity, the physical diversity of the trail, the landscape, and the diversity of the people of the trail. But we don't want to say the word diversity. And I had the idea of this mosaic of photos that makes up this larger photo of the Mountains to Sea Trail blaze, or a sign or something like that. But that's what I had in my head. And then it was just a matter of trying to translate what I had in my head into a digital form. And that's really difficult. 'Cause it's I wish I could just somehow just, I don't know, beam it onto the computer screen, 'cause I knew exactly what I wanted it to look like. And the short version of the story is I was able to find a template on the interwebs that allowed me to plug and play videos and photos into this template, and then it created the animation of this mosaic. So I can't take credit for that, but it fit what I had in my head. Yeah, but you guys, you got to go back and watch it, because as the mosaic, and I've watched it several times, as the mosaic comes up, in between people speaking or wherever it is in the video, you're going to miss something, because, it might pop up and there might actually be live video in the little square, picture. Yeah, there's 144. Okay. So there's 144 separate photos or videos that are in that mosaic. So you never know which one you're going to see. There's some that it was just kind of, they're entered in randomly. So I didn't really think about where a specific video or a specific photo would go. That's just the way that it happened. But yeah, so Betsy Brown from the Friends of the Mountains to Sea Trail was integral to providing photos for that. Don Williams is another one that deserves a lion's share of the credit for providing some photos for that. But yeah, and I just kind of picked and chose photos and videos that I thought kind of encapsulated the trail from Clingman's Dome to Jockey's Ridge. So there's a little bit of everything in there, from trail work to stuff from the gathering, to stuff from the beach, to people hiking. If you've watched any Side Trail Adventures videos, you probably will see some familiar footage. But yeah, no, it's funny. I look back on some of this footage
because there's footage in the trailer of the very first hike that I took in segment 10 on the Mountains of Sea Trail.
I love that. That means so much. I mean,
But yeah, but it was funny. Like you can almost say that I started filming this series, whatever that is, 3 years ago. Because it's got 3 years worth of footage that I didn't know that I was collecting for this project, but that's what happened. But yeah, the mosaic, I think, helped. It was just one of those things that I didn't know how we were going to use it, but I knew we needed it. We needed those images and those videos to help show that, because the idea is that we're all a part of this trail, that everybody, just like I said earlier, like there's no one person that can hang their hat on the trail and say that, like, I did that. Everybody had a piece of it. Even this project, there's no way I could have done this by myself. Because
even everybody, and we thank everybody listening to this that said, "I am the MST."
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's been a group effort. And I'm just very, very proud of what we've been able to put together. This
project, I mean, it just puts everything together, what we're trying to say about the Mountains of Sea Trail.
Yep.
It's a community.
Yep.
It's a team effort. You don't have to do this alone. There's people out there willing to help and give information and share pictures. It's been amazing. And with this particular episode that came out today, the vision, Howard Lee, kind of giving us the story for this. And, in this episode, you've got, Jim Halsey, who the most humble man on earth. I mean, it was his idea for the trail, period.
Yeah.
And then you have, here enters Alan DeHart, where, he said, no, we're not going to let this idea die down. We're going to build this trail. And then here comes Jeff Brewer. And then and Jeff Brewer was the president of the board for the Friends of the Mountains of Sea Trail for 12 years.
The very first president, and he was there for 12 years.
Yeah. Whew. And he operated the Friends out of his dorm room at NC State. I hope it's NC State. I hope I didn't get that wrong.
I think it's NC State.
Yeah. So, and then this episode, it's like the vision of the trail. Mm-hmm. And
because that's what it was. It really was a vision.
Yeah.
It's just like, you and I approaching this project, we're like, we kind of know what we're looking for, but not really. Like, that's what this trail was back, at its inception. They had a vision of what they wanted.
Yeah.
And
it's ever changing.
Yeah.
It's ever changing, which leads us to, will lead us to the next episodes, because the next episode we're going to talk about, we're going to close this episode out, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the foundation. But one of the things that we were thinking about as we were closing out, the vision is, to sprinkle things in. And at the end of the vision, there's a little sprinkle of, what you can maybe anticipate, for the foundation episode, which I am thoroughly excited about.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that.
Yeah. And I think, we'll talk about this next week, but I think the foundation episode is one of the reasons that sets this series apart from others. Is because we're diving deep into not just the physics of the trail, but the meaning and the passion and the emotions behind it. Yeah.
And I might get emotional, because y'all know I've been emotional anyway. So, once again, thanks everybody for coming back to the show. Our overall name for this docu-series is titled I Am The MST. And today we've been talking about a lot of things, but primarily how we started putting all these things together. The episode that came out today that released over on Austin's channel is called The Vision. And yeah, so the trailer's out. The first official episode is out, The Vision, and we want you guys to go watch that. But one of the things that I want to leave you guys with, parting words, I guess, is yes, we've been talking about the Mountains to Sea Trail, and yes, we're emotional about this because this is a trail that we love. But one of the main things that I hope everybody gets out of this, because I know not everybody's in North Carolina. Some of you are on the West Coast. Some of you, it doesn't matter where you are. Austin and I, we're amateurs. We're two ordinary people that have a love for the same thing. And we want to encourage everybody to become part of something where they are and get a passion for it. And
Absolutely.
I think, yeah, for me, that's an overarching theme that keeps coming back to me. I'm an educator, you're a first responder. It's like, we have full-time jobs, we're also creators, and anything can happen. I mean, if we could do this, I mean, really anything can happen. I guess those are my parting words.
Absolutely. If you'd told me 3 years ago that, I'd be sitting on a podcast, because that's crazy. But yeah, it wasn't long ago that I was, one of those weekend warriors that went out for a weekend backpacking trip with a 60-pound pack with way too much stuff. And now I'm making, a documentary about a trail that I have grown to love. It was definitely something, it's a story that I get to share with the trail. My story is still, our story is still being written on how our relationship with the trail has grown. So yeah, it's been an adventure.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Next week we will be back and we will be talking about the foundation. So in the meanwhile, you can find everything we've talked about today in the show notes for this episode. And I guess I'll just end it like I always do. Thanks for listening. Be safe out there and happy section hiking.
Good times.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning light. I wonder if you'd wander with me, and I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. You're wondering if I go wandering with you, what kind of trouble we'll get ourselves into. Would it be wrong to tag along with a band of vagabonds? You wonder if I'd wander with you. So I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river. I'm wondering if you'd come wandering my way, if you ever get lost or if the trail leads you astray. The music of the pack can always bring you back. I wonder can we wander away? And I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come. And we'll leave the streets in these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Wells Fargo presents one of the surest ways to grow your money. A Wells Fargo CD account, where you can earn a 5.00% annual percentage yield on an 11-month term with a minimum opening deposit of $5,000. Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/CD rates to open a CD account and start growing your savings with us.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.